Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
And Mark Davis is the master in charge of our House of Illusions, or what do we call it?
A haunted mansion.
Haunted mansion and supernatural.
After over a decade of planning and construction, August 9th of 1969 would mark the date that the doors of Disneyland's Haunted Mansion would finally creak open. The path that led to the opening of one of the most famous rides in theme park history was as crooked as this path, seen on the first and original sketch of the attraction from 1951. Originally set to be on Main Street, plans for the Haunted Mansion within Disneyland disappeared and materialized throughout the 50s until construction actually began at the turn of the decade. Not unlike its neighbor in the newly constructed New Orleans Square, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Haunted Mansion was planned as a walkthrough attraction, and even advertised as such in 1961 booklets handed out to guests at Disneyland's park entrance. When it came to the actual ride's elements, Walt Disney tagged Mark Davis and Claude Coates, two focal individuals within the company, to design the majority of the mansion. The problem was that the two were split on the vibe they wanted guests to experience within the attraction. Claude yearned for the classic scary adventure, while Mark pushed for a more silly spectacle full of gags and laughs. In the end, the ride ended up satisfying both gentlemen, with the first half of the attraction providing the spooks, and the back half lightening the mood. It wasn't until after Walt Disney's death in 1966 in which Imagineers would alter the plans for the walkthrough aspect and convert it to an omnimover system, introducing us to the Doom Buggy. Meanwhile, duplicates of much of the ride's interior were created for the upcoming Magic Kingdom in Florida. And so, unlike Disneyland, who operated for 14 years without a haunted mansion, Walt Disney World opened its gates with one firmly placed in the Orlando exclusive area of Liberty Square. To fit with the theming of the area, Magic Kingdom's exterior resembled a Gothic home sitting on the river's edge. In 2011, Disney made updates to Orlando's queue, incorporating new interactive elements that dive into the attraction's deep story. Graveyards sit outside of both versions of the ride, and in Orlando's, a familiar face can be spotted, paying tribute to another ride found on our list. Once inside, guests enter the infamous stretching room before boarding the attraction, though in Anaheim's, the stretching room was built out of a necessity, for it worked as an elevator that brought guests beneath the surface in order to walk underneath Disneyland's train tracks and into the actual show building. In Orlando, the room simply stretches upwards. Once on board your Doom Buggy, elements of what make the Haunted Mansion so iconic immediately begin to be showcased. Creepy busts track your every move as you meander through the ride. Lightning strikes reveal there's more to the paintings on the walls. And of course, the floating head of Madame Leota hosts a seance before you head for the ride's finale. Speaking of the finale, perhaps the most lasting image for riders is the very end, in which a hitchhiking ghost hops aboard your Doom Buggy to follow you home. As the vehicles traveled past one-way mirrors, well-lit animatronics on the other side of the glass would line up with the vehicle to create the illusion that they too were in your Doom Buggy. The effect was updated in Orlando with animated hitchhikers in 2011. Since opening with the park in 1971, Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion truly exemplifies what it means to be a perfect dark ride that continues to make guests hurry back year after year.
As the Na'vi say during this important rite of passage, Sivak Hope, rise to the challenge. Good luck.
All right,
You ready?
In 2017, Flight of Passage joined the Animal Kingdom lineup, and people described it as dreaming with your eyes open. It's a perfect analogy because when you combine the pre-show with the theming and the ride itself, you've got an attraction that is quite literally out of this world. It's my favorite ride at Disney, but it doesn't quite take our #1 spot because it lacks a little historical significance. Heck, it's only 4 years old. By the way, it's number 3 on our list of the top 50 attractions in Disney World history.
Okay, first we need to find the compatible match of your genetic material with the genetic material of one of the avatar bodies that we already have. Once we do that, you'll be able to link to that avatar and fly.
For nearly 2 decades, a giant plot of land sat on the west side of Disney's Animal Kingdom, consistently reminding us of what could have been. Camp Mini Mickey and the old Festival of the Lion King show originally held fort in the land that was intended to soon become Beastly Kingdom, a themed area of mythical creatures and impressive attractions that never came to be. Beastly Kingdom was such a guarantee to happen that dragons were made part of the Animal Kingdom logo, and a dragon rock formation still stands in the park to this day. Though as mentioned, the land never came to be. Well, never came to be for Disney, but that's another story. And it wasn't until 2017, nearly 2 decades since the park opened, that we would get a fully fledged themed area to essentially complete Disney's Animal Kingdom. What we received was Pandora, the world of Avatar. Themed inside the Valley of Moara, 2 attractions were constructed, the slow-moving boat ride of Na'vi River Journey, and one of the greatest rides ever built, Avatar Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage simply can't be described properly through any medium other than experiencing the ride yourself. The experience begins long before the ride by walking under the floating mountains of Pandora that were so expertly constructed by a team involving both Joe Rohde and director James Cameron. Once inside the actual queue, guests venture through a mountain and into a research facility overgrown with bioluminescent plants. It is there where you first spot a full-sized floating Na'vi, or Avatar, suspended in a tank over 8 feet in length. 2 pre-shows describe how guests will enter a link chamber to experience flying on the back of an Ikran, or Banshee as we non-elite level scientists call them. A cool fact about the first pre-show is that Imagineers planned for potential delays with the ride. Rather than leaving guests in the dark, they scripted and recorded separate video segments to play into the story in case of an unexpected interruption with the attraction. So now the story continues in a slightly different way, hopefully buying more time without riders actually noticing. The ride itself uses augmented reality, 4D effects, and a moving floor to simulate flight across a 4 to 5 minute journey. The staggering size of the screen, combined with 3 separate levels of riders, connects the attraction to Soarin', but make no mistake, the experience is like nothing ever created before it. It's one of the most impressive pieces of engineering in theme park history, and simply needs to be ridden to be fully appreciated. As Dr. Jackie Ogden states in the second pre-show, Siva Ko, or Rise to the Challenge, and book your next trip to Animal Kingdom, because Avatar Flight of Passage will be worth the trip alone.